things he can incur because of all the destruction. And definitely he was. I think I'm repeating.
Okay,
Um,
let's speak specific to what the questions he asked. What was the question he asked?
Was one of the questions that what is going to be the effect on the generations based on the action that is going to be that is going to be happening now?
Yeah, so that was the fourth one, meaning more than the question, I'll reword myself. It is the argument that he's putting forward because of which he's saying, I don't want to fight the war. Yeah, so it's very important to understand these questions because uh, Krishna is speaking something, right? What is he speaking? He is answering the questions of Arjun. And unless you understand the questions, you will not understand the answer. Okay, so the first question he was talking about, meaning the argument was that he is feeling compassionate towards the loss of the bodies of the relatives and friends who are fighting on both sides of the war. So for that, Krishna has given the answers in both the probabilities. If you consider body as anyway destructible, then and the soul is indestructible, then for that argument, Krishna gave from verse 11 till verse 25, 15 where verses he spoke as the answer. And from 26 to 30, he talked about if the body as well as soul is not eternal and both will be destroyed and both will be recreated. So in such a scenario, he is saying still you don't have any reason to lament, right? So the 20 verses from 11 to 30, they answer Arjuna's first argument. Now from verse 31 till 37, Krishna is answering the second and third argument. Anybody remembers what is the second argument?
Wasn't it how can he kill the people whom he respected, his teachers and the gurus that he has?
Okay, so that comes in verse number 4 and 5 in second chapter. The first chapter, he asked four questions. The first one we spoke about, and the second and third one we want to discuss. So the second one was loss of enjoyment. He's saying, fine, I'm required to kill. I'll kill, okay, no problem. But what is the benefit I'm going to get? There is no benefit. Loss of enjoyment. There is no enjoyment am I going to get. And the third question is, okay, I may not get any enjoyment, but at least I should not get anything negative. But he's talking, I'm going to incur sinful reactions, meaning you are forcing me to do something which I don't want to do. I don't want to kill somebody. You're forcing me to kill somebody. I'm not going to get any benefit. Plus, I'm going to incur sinful reactions, meaning everywhere the loss is mine. Forcing me to do something I don't want to do. There is no benefit for me, and that's a complete loss for me. So these two questions Krishna will answer till verse number 37, starting from verse number 31. Okay, so let's start verse number 31. Anybody has any question before I move on? No?
no, no, bro.
Okay. So let's chant verse number 31. Okay, you can unmute yourself. Swadharmam apichaveksha
Swadharmam
Dharmam
api
api
apichaveksha
navikampitum arhasi
navikampitum
vikampitum
arhasi
arhasi
dharmyadhi yuddhat shreyo anyat.
dharmadhi
धर्माद्यैहि
yudhyasho
युद्धश्रेयो
Shreyo anyat.
shreyo yannat
Shreya
Kshatriyasya na vidyate.
Kshatriyasya
se
न
na
विद्यते
na
vidyate
vidyate
I'll chant it again. Swadharmamapi chaveksha navikampitum arhasi dharmyadhi yuddhat shreyo anyat kshatriyasya na vidyate. Somebody can read the translation.
Yes, please.
yes
Answering your specific duty as a Kshatriya, you should know that there is no better enjoyment for you than fighting on religious principles, and there is no need for hesitation.
So he says there is no better engagement for you, no, not enjoyment. So now, what is Krishna doing now? He has answered to his argument number one. Now he is initiating the answer to argument number two. Okay, what is he saying? Loss of enjoyment. Yeah, so think, keep this point remembered about what Arjuna's question is. Now, uh, when you say loss of enjoyment, what it means is that basically you will perform some duty. That duty will deprive you of some enjoyment. Okay, meaning you were supposed to get something for enjoying for yourself, you're not going to get, or you already have something which you would have enjoyed, but that is now being taken away by performing some action. So both probabilities are there, right? So now Krishna is continuing convincing Arjun to fight. Okay, so you would have seen in verse number 30 also he said you have to fight. In verse number 18 also he said you have to fight. Okay, now that was on the basis of body being destructible and Atma being indestructible. Now he takes the same reason, okay, but or he basically generates the same action out of Arjun, but convinces him on a different perspective. Okay, he is saying don't ignore the knowledge. Okay, so from verse number 11 to 30 he had spoken about the aspect of knowledge, knowledge about the body, knowledge about the soul, knowledge about the material elements, everything. Okay, now he is saying okay, fine, ignore it. You, I'm going to teach you about karma, okay, and your duty. Okay, so Arjun is now going saying that I will not be able to enjoy. Krishna is saying that by performing your duty of fighting and not by fleeing the battlefield, you will be able to enjoy. So his argument was what? I will fight, I will kill my people, and I will lose them. Even if I get the kingdom, there will be nobody available for me to enjoy that kingdom with. So he's saying finally there is no enjoyment. Now Krishna is convincing him from the perspective of your dharma, your duty, your religious duty. And for that, what he is saying, he is calling him based on what he is. He is saying Kshatriyasya na vidyate. He is saying a Kshatriya is supposed to fight. Why? Because uh, it is the one of the duties. Uh, what do you say? It is one of the duties which are entrusted with respect to the maintenance of the kingdom. It is entrusted to a Kshatriya. What does Kshatriya as a word mean? Kshat meaning harm, and Traya is a short form of Trayate. Okay, so one who protects somebody from another person from causing the harm is a Kshatriya. Okay, so a duty of Kshatriya is to protect the common people and general the law and order and the kingdom and dharma, the religious principles. One who protects all of these, I mean, a Kshatriya is to supposed to protect all of these. So now he is saying you should understand that there is no better engagement for you because you are fighting on religious principles. Okay, now it is too early for me to describe about the Chatur Varanya, the Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. As we go forward, we will gradually about it. But basically, there are certain activities which are supposed to be performed by a particular Varna and a particular ashram. Does anyone know what are the four ashramas? No. Brahmacharya is one ashram. Anybody else knows the other three?
Vruddhashram?
No.
No? Okay.
No. Vruddhashram is basically a place where Vruddhas are stay, right? So this is about
Okay.
the performance of a certain duty. From based on that, the ashramas are mentioned.
But this
So
is a
Brahma,
class of like different class of based on I mean like Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishnavas, and Shudras. That is that the one?
okay. So it is not Vaishnava, it is Vaishya. So these
Vaishya.
are four Varna. Okay.
Okay.
Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. These are four Varnas. And the four ashrams are Brahmacharya, Gruhasthashram, Vanaprasthashram, and Sannyasashram. Okay. So every ashram and every varna has a certain duty to perform, and they are forbidden to perform certain other duties. For example, a Brahman is not supposed to go and fight the war in the battlefield, nor a Kshatriya is supposed to perform puja archa like a Brahman does. So they have mutually exclusive duties. Okay. And all of this is sufficiently in detail mentioned in Bhagavad Gita in the 18th chapter. Okay. So now what Krishna here is telling him is, you are a Kshatriya, you are supposed to perform your duty of fighting. Okay. Now, so Swadharmam api chaviksha. Okay, let's understand this particular point in a little bit detail. Okay. So religious principles, it's not a one size fits all approach. Okay. So certain things may be good for you, but may not necessarily be good for me. Okay. So Swadharma meaning it is your own dharma. So there is one common dharma, and then there are these separate dharmas. Common dharma is at a spiritual level. So we all are Atma, we are not the body. So at as a Atma, we have certain duties to perform. Jivera Swarupa hai Nityara Krishna Das. So we are eternal servants of Krishna. From that perspective, we have a common dharma. But your body is different, your nature is different, my body, my nature is different. So for me, certain dharma is applicable, for you, certain dharma could be applicable. So that's why Krishna is saying Swadharmam api chaveksha. Okay. So we cannot perform the same activity. So dharma can be customized, okay, on in broad categories. Otherwise, there will be too many categories, right? So these categories are based on what Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra are, and based on the ashramas also. The general divisions of society are based on, it's a commonsensical approach. So Brahmanas are supposed to know the complete Vedas and everything, and they are supposed to guide the general society on the path of spiritual progress. So that's why they are considered to be an intellectual class. Kshatriyas are supposed to be administrative class. The Vaishyas are businessmen, so they help us grow the economy, and the Shudras are general category assistant kind of people. Okay. Now, at the bodily level, we perform these activities depending on where we are born, what kind of situation we are in, and then we perform a certain activity. But at a liberated, at a spiritual level, we all perform the same activity, which is being the service to Krishna. And general rules based on which these are governed is how best to arrange the society to generate best material administration of the natural resources and everything. Then spiritual growth is the prime factor because of which every other activity is dovetailed. Okay. Now, what Krishna is highlighting in this particular verse is, you are a Kshatriya, you are supposed to perform your duty. Okay. This is the key aspect that we take away from this particular verse. Okay. So let's move on to the next verse. Yadruchaya chopapannam
Yadruchaya chaupunyam
Swargadvaramapavrutam
Swargadwaram parvatam
Sukhinah Kshatriyah Partha
Sukhina Kshatriya Partha
Labhante Yuddhamidrusham
Labhante Yudramidrasham
Yadruchaya chopapannam Swargadvaramapavrutam Sukhinah kshatriya partha labhante yuddhamidrusham. Translation, anybody?
Okay. O Partha, happy are the Kshatriyas to whom such fighting opportunities come unsought, opening for them the doors of the heavenly planets.
So now what Krishna is trying to communicate here is Arjuna had mentioned one argument, loss of enjoyment, and his uh, basis of the argument was that I may win the kingdom, but I will lose the relatives. And if they are not there, whom will I share my joy with? Whom will I share my kingdom with? Okay. So even if I have something with me, if I don't have anyone to share that happiness with, what is the use of that happiness? Okay. What is the use of that material object? There will be no enjoyment. Now, what Krishna is saying that the opportunity to reach out to heaven, or meaning basically enter heaven, is easily available for Kshatriyas when they fight the war. So he is saying, happy are the Kshatriyas to whom such fighting opportunities come unsought. So you might have suffered so many calamities throughout your life for which this war was necessary for you. But there are so many Kshatriyas in both the parties who are fighting the war, and there is a good chance that they will get killed. In for such people, they did not undergo these calamities. This opportunity to fight a war has come without they doing anything. So they are still happy, although they have a knowledge that there is a good probability that they may be killed and they may die. Despite that, they are happy. Why? Because the doors of the heavenly planets open for them. How? So if you remember, two things actually here. So when we studied the first verse of the first chapter, Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre is how Dhritarashtra addresses the place Kurukshetra. You remember that? Now, Dharma Kshetra is the reason why Kurukshetra is called Dharma Kshetra is because the king named Kuru, based on which the descendants of Kuru are called as Kaurav. That king Kuru was a very, very pious king. So he had done quite a lot of sacrifices, and he had, appeased Indradev as well as Vishnu also. And he had asked a boon from them, stating that this place should be called as Kurukshetra, and anyone who dies on the battlefield here in this place should get heaven. Okay, and Vishnu and Indra had said yes, tathastu. Okay, on top of that one, Kshatriyas, for them, laying down their life for the society, for the kingdom, they should get some benefit out of it, right? So the Varnashram Paddhati is structured in such a manner that anytime a Kshatriya dies on a battlefield, he reaches heaven. So that's why Krishna is saying here that for Kshatriyas, when the fighting opportunities come, they happily accept it. Why? Because they know that if they fight and win, they are going to enjoy the kingdom. If they fight and lose and die, they will go to heaven and enjoy over there. So that's why Krishna is saying, happy are those Kshatriyas for whom these fighting opportunities come unsought. Now, if you remember, in the 43rd verse of first chapter, Arjun had said, Narake niyatam vaso. What does it mean? Narake meaning Narak is hell. Narake meaning in hell. Niyatam meaning constantly. Vaso meaning to stay over there. Okay. So he's saying people who are responsible for the destruction of the dynasty and the traditions, they reside in hell constantly. Now, he also very well knows that nobody can reside in hell constantly, as like one cannot reside in a heavenly planet constantly. Similarly, one cannot reside in hell constantly. But he's saying that the sins will be so grievous and it will be so huge, enormous, that there will not be any kind of repentance available and redemption available for such kind of sins. One will have to reside in hell constantly. So that's why he's saying, I do not find anything good in this particular fight. It will cause perpetual residence in hell. So Krishna is condemning such kind of attitude. He is saying that, you are talking about fighting, and that too in a sad mood. He is saying Kshatriyas are happy when such fighting opportunities come to them. Okay. Now, this whole thing, verse number 31 to 37, is a category of philosophy on which Krishna is convincing him, which is called as Karma Kanda. Karma Kanda means performing the activities which are mentioned in the Shastra, but out of but performing them out of some selfish motive, selfish material motive. So let's say you have a child and you are asking him to study. When he is not so interested in doing their studies, then you give some kind of enticement. Then you tell them, okay, I will give you a chocolate. And then for the sake of the chocolate, he performs those activities. So that is basically karma kanda. So in certain sections of the Vedas, the benefits of performing certain sacrifices are mentioned. And those benefits, range from enjoying on earthly planets or enjoying in heavenly planets. So people get attracted to those words and the description of the enjoyment which is mentioned in the Vedas. And then that is the reason they perform certain activities. And when they perform these activities, then they get these benefits and they go to heaven, they enjoy over there. So this whole thing, this category of philosophy is called as Karma Kanda. So Krishna is now convincing Arjun from a action and reward kind of system, which is called as Karma Kanda. So for Arjun, the essence of the war is he will attain heaven if he dies in the battlefield. He will enjoy the kingdom if he wins the war. Even his relatives or his friends, if they die on the battlefield, they will enjoy the heavenly planet. And if they die, they will if they win and they remain alive, they will enjoy the kingdom. So now you see, from the perspective of permutations and combinations, there are four combinations that can come up. Yeah, Pandavas win or Pandavas lose. Okay, Pandavas win and they remain alive. Pandavas lose and they lose the war and they lose their life also. And Kauravas also, they win the kingdom, they remain alive, or they lose the battle and they lose the life also. So in all the four combinations, Krishna is saying whoever dies will go to heavenly planet, whoever wins will enjoy the earthly kingdom. So he's saying, where is the loss of enjoyment? He's saying everybody should be happy here. There is no situation where there is a loss. Arjun was talking about a lose-lose situation. Krishna is talking about a win-win situation. Arjun was seeing only loss everywhere. Krishna is saying there is only profit, only benefit, only enjoyment everywhere. Hare Krishna. So
Hare
general,
Krishna, Sachin
Hare
sir.
Krishna.
I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
have a doubt, sir.
yeah, yeah, please.
Uh, and this applies to both Pandav and Kaurav, both.
Yes,
If so, they are also Kshatriyas, right? So if they
correct.
will also win the lose or they will lose the battle, then they will also go to heaven.
Yes, yes.
But they are not good people, right? So how they will go to heaven?
Correct. So what happens? The cycle of karma works in sometimes a manner which may not be comprehensible to us. Okay. And let us understand this with an example. Okay. So, okay, let's take a pot. Okay, a pot which has a tap at the bottom. Okay, and let's say I give you some grains. Okay, so let's say first I give you 1 kg rice to fill in the pot. So you
Okay.
put the pot, you fill up the rice in the pot. Then I give you 1 kg of wheat. Then I give you 1 kg of bajra,
Mm-hmm.
and then 1 kg of something else.
Okay.
Okay. So when you open the pot, you come first.
The last one, what do you put?
Last one or the first one? So you have a pot here and you have the tap at the bottom.
Okay,
So
so
you
the
put
first one, correct.
so
The
the
first one.
rice, then wheat, and then bajra,
Yes.
right? So when you open the pot, rice will come first, right?
Yes. Yes.
Now let's say, let's assume rice is good activity, wheat is neutral activity, or say partially good activity for sort of, and bajra is bad activity. So when the tap is opened, you are actually getting the results out of it. So when you are performing the good activity first, the result of the good activity, this is general terms and conditions, okay, will come first. Then the semi good activity and then the bad activity, right? What happens is
Okay.
we see the latest behavior of a person. We do not know how he has behaved even in his previous life. And accordingly, we decide that that person should go into hell, right? But that's not necessarily how the law of karma works. Okay. Sometimes it can work very weirdly also. Sometimes the bad activity can get the result first. Sometimes even that can happen. But the
Exactly.
general principle is the 4 stages of a fructification of a plant should be understood here. So first you sow the seed for a particular tree, then it grows into a sapling, then it becomes a big tree, then it starts giving fruits and flowers, and the fruits become ripe, and then it is ready to eat. So when we perform an activity, we are actually sowing the seed in the soil. Okay. As time passes by, the tree it grows into a big tree and starts giving fruits and flowers. Okay. So when the fruits become ripe and it's ready to eat, it is like our karma has become ripened now, and that it can start coming to us anytime. The result can start coming to us anytime. So this is the cycle of karma. So there are some trees which take probably a month or so to grow big and start giving the fruits. There are some trees which take months and months and years also, like mango tree. It will take many years for the first mango to come out, but a small tree can give flowers quickly. So the cycle of karma also works that way. So
Okay. Okay, sir.
Kauravas may have been bad here, but their
Mm-hmm.
karma may be such that they would get this one. And on top of that one, the Varnashram Paddhati is structured in such a manner that it has specified certain actions for certain people. If you perform those actions, you get the reward. If you don't perform the action, you will incur sinful reactions. Okay. So the reward for performing those actions, which is for a Kshatriya to fight in the battlefield, is to get a heavenly to get a place in the heavenly planets to enjoy over there. That way. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay.
So let's move on. Okay, I was talking about the duties of a Kshatriya. So some of the duties are to protect the citizens from any kind of difficulty, to protect the kingdom, to protect the animals within the kingdom. Okay. There are times when if violence is the only option available, then he has to apply violence in order to maintain peace, which is in and itself an irony, that you are utilizing violence as a tool to maintain law and order, to maintain peace. But there are certain times that there are certain elements in the society who are unable to understand any other language. In such a scenario, violence is required. So the Kshatriyas are allowed to apply violence. Okay. Then they can conquer the other kings or the soldiers of the other kings. Then they have to apply religious principles and rule over the world. So applying the religious principles is a important activity because they should not go astray from the path of dharma. And what happens if a Kshatriya avoids his duty? So there are two things that happen: infamy and sinful reaction. Okay. So that will come in the next chapter, next verse. So we'll discuss that. So shall we chant this verse? Any question? No? Okay.
Prabhu, is this applicable now as well?
Okay. So not completely, but there are certain activities that we are still supposed to perform. So a Kshatriya may not take, meaning as even if I may call myself as Kshatriya, I cannot take law and order in my hand, right? So we are governed by some other rules also, which we need to follow.
Right.
But a Brahman can perform puja today as well, right? A Brahman can do. So the definition of Brahman is Brahma Janati iti Brahman. The one who understands Brahma is called as Brahman. Okay. And then there are a few activities which a Brahman does. Yajan, Yajan, Pathan, Pathan. Okay. So Pathan is to read the Vedas or the Shastra, Vedic literature. Pathan is to teach the Vedic literature. Yajan is to perform yajna for himself. Yajan is to get the yajna performed by somebody. So various activities are there for a Brahman. So these activities can still be performed, but there are certain activities. We are, in a sense, we are not truly Kshatriya, even if we call ourselves so, even if we may have born in that dynasty. Today, Kshatriya, when he sees kind of a person who cannot protect himself, when he sees such a person being harmed by somebody else, the Kshatriya comes in between and he fights the perpetrator. But if something happens in today's scenario, do we have the guts to, fight the perpetrator? We may not. So we may be just by birth, we may be born in a Kshatriya family, but by karma, by actions, we are not behaving like a Kshatriya. Hare Krishna. So let's look at verse number 33. Atha chetvam imam dharmyam
Atat chetam
Atasте
imam
tvam
dhanyam
Tachaitvam
dharmyam
dharmam
sangramam na karishyasi.
sangramam na karishyasi
yashi
Tatah swadharmam kirtim cha
tatam
tatah
swadharma
swadharma
kirti
kirti
cha
cha
hitva papam avapsyasi.
hitva papam
ida papam vapsi.
vapyasyasi.
Translation, please.
If, however, you do not perform your religious duty of fighting, then you will certainly incur sins for neglecting your duties and thus lose your reputation as a fighter.
Okay. So now what has happened? First, he told him that it is your duty, it is your dharma to fight. Okay. So let's look at the translations of the previous two verses and let's look at the flow. So what has happened? Your specific duty as a Kshatriya, you have to understand that there is no better engagement for you than fighting on religious principles. So you don't need to worry. Okay. And then he gives him a reward also, that if you fight, you will go to heavenly planets. If others fight, they will go to heavenly planets. So what has happened? First, he talked about the principle, what's to be done, what is not to be done. Then he talked about the reward for that. And now he's talking about the if you do not do. So the negative side of not performing the action, that he is now talking about. So the loop is completed now. Okay. Now, let's look at this one. So he is now expertly turning around and defeating Arjuna's argument. So, what did Arjun say in verse 1.36? He said, Papa mevashred asman hatvaitan atatainaha. He is saying that if hatvaitan, if I fight and if I kill the sons of Dhritarashtra, I will incur heavy sinful reactions. Okay, Krishna is countering his argument to say that it is not if you fight, you will incur sinful reactions, but if you do not fight, you will incur sinful reactions. If you do not fight, you will go to hell. Narake Niyatam Vaso, when he said, he's saying, if I fight and if I kill, and my because of which the dynasty will get destroyed, I will reside in hell continuously. But Krishna is saying, no, if you do not fight, you will go to hell for not performing your duty. So because he is meaning he is behaving against the religious principles of a Kshatriya. And who remembers, I had given a example of a policeman. Anybody remembers? When it comes to not performing the duty. So a policeman is seated on a chair and he is seeing there is a fight going on the street, and there is one very strong person and there is a weak person. The strong person is beating the weak person. So the policeman's duty is to protect the weaker section. So he should, on an ideal basis, he should interfere, stop the strong person from beating the weaker person and protect the weaker person. But if the policeman says, I am not the one who caused that fighting between them, they are the ones who discussed and argued and fought. Why should I go and intervene? Why should I do that? So what is happening? The policeman is supposed to perform his job of protection, but he is not doing. So that is also a offense that a policeman is committing. Similarly, a Kshatriya is supposed to fight and protect the kingdom, protect the religious principles. And if he doesn't fight, then he is actually performing activities against the Shastras and against the guidance and injunctions of Shastra. And that is a offense, that is a sinful activity. So that's why Krishna is telling him that if you do not perform your activity as a Kshatriya, you will certainly incur sins for neglecting your duties, and you will lose your reputation as a fighter. So the results that a Kshatriya incurs for avoiding his duty are two things: infamy, okay, and sinful reactions. Okay. So he will lose the reputation as a fighter and he will also incur sins for neglecting his duty. Okay. So this is the key point Krishna is highlighting here, right? Now,
I have a doubt, Sachin sir.
bol.
Okay, the question is right now in current circumstance, as a Brahmin, I'm not doing puja, which I supposed to do as a religious, and I'm not doing it because of various circumstance. Like I need to take care of my family, I need to do my job, my duty. So is that's how I'm doing any sin? Not doing the religious activities uh, as per my Brahmin.
See, now in the current situation, if you see, the meaning of the word Brahmin has actually lost its importance. Practically speaking, and this is what even Srimad Bhagavatam also states, that in the Kali Yuga, a person will be known as Brahmin only by the wearing of the thread. Okay, let's look at this one. So the symptoms of Kali Yuga. Okay. Okay, so let's this chapter you have to read it. Everybody has to read this. Chapter number 4 of canto number 12 of Srimad Bhagavatam. Men and women will live together merely because of superficial attraction. The top people are attracted to each other only on a physical level. Success is in business will depend on deceit. Okay, this chapter is the symptoms of Kali Yuga. So he is professing what will happen in Kali Yuga. He's talking about it 5,000 years before. Okay, womanliness and manliness will be judged according to one's expertise in sex. So very true in today's world. And a man will be known as a Brahman just by wearing a thread. So what happens is, uh, either a person has gone through the Janeu ceremony, because of which he is wearing a thread, or and because of which he calls himself a Brahman, or a person is born in a Brahmin family, that's why he calls himself as Brahman. But in both the cases, he is actually not performing any duties as a Brahman. So he cannot be called a Brahman. Okay. So, uh, like for example, the child of a doctor father and a doctor mother does not automatically become a doctor. He has to learn, he has to give exams, he has to pass the exams, and then he can work or perform as a doctor. Similarly, a Brahman is also supposed to obtain knowledge from a guru, learn properly, learn the Shastra properly, and then perform duties as a Brahman. So actually, if you see, you may be Brahman by birth, but not by karma. So there is no sin incurred in this particular case. Don't worry about it.
Okay, thank you, sir.
So sorry, generally I have a habit of giving too much detailed answers, and my wife also tells me you go too much in depth, but just only to make you understand the complete concepts, so that otherwise half knowledge can become dangerous. That's why I was trying to give a little more details. And but don't feel bad. This is for everybody. Yeah. So I am born as a Kshatriya. Okay. But I never perform Kshatriya duties, right? I have never seen a talwar also with me. So, so this is the case. So actually, if you see, there is one small phrase in Chaitanya Charitamrut. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, "Kalau Shudra Sambhavaha," which means everybody in the Kali Yuga is born as a Shudra only. Okay. So the Shudras meaning we perform activities, right? We work for somebody. Yeah, we work and we get paid for our work. So we are basically laborers. Simple. We may be white collared laborers, but we are laborers.
Okay, sir. Noted. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Okay, I was talking about this, right? Okay. So, so Arjun had a great reputation of a warrior, right? So he had attained great fame because he fought with various demigods. He fought with even Lord Shiva also. He defeated Lord Shiva, and who had come in the dress of a hunter. And then he pleased Lord Shiva and he received a weapon called as a Pashupatastra. And even Dronacharya gave him lot of benedictions. And Arjun was known to be the only warrior who can defeat Bhishma and Dronacharya. Only person capable, nobody else. So he had received such a great reputation. Krishna is telling him that you will lose all the reputation, great reputation that you have as a fighter, and this infamy will be very difficult for you to tolerate it. On top of that one, he's saying you will incur sinful reactions also, only because you did not perform your specific duty of a Kshatriya. Now, the Varnashram Dharma system, the beauty of that is you perform an activity which has been recommended in Shastra, you get positive pious credits. You perform an activity which is not supposed to be done, or you do not perform an activity which is supposed to be done, you get negative credits for that. And both of these, the pious activity as well as the sinful activity, they carry their results. Okay. And depending on various factors, then certain result comes before certain other result. And sometimes multiple activities results can come all of them at together. Sometimes multiple pious activities, they can give a result together. So it can happen in any combination. So, uh, so it is basically the material desires that a person has, they fulfill themselves those desires based on the rewards, and that is called as a karma kanda, as a system. The law of karma works for karma kanda in this particular manner. Okay, so their objective is not spiritual progress, their objective is material enjoyment. That is the basis of karma kanda. Okay, so let's move on. If you are okay, can we do one more verse?
Sure, Prabhu.
हाँ 34 करें मंजू माता जी एंड जीतू प्रभु चलेगा?
Yeah, sure.
Sir. Okay, please.
Okay. अकीर्तिं चापि भूतानि
Kirtim
Kirti
chapi
chapi
bhutani
bhutani
कथयिष्यन्ति ते व्ययाम्
kathayisyanti
kathashanti
tevyam
taivyam
संभावितस्य चाकीर्तिर्
gambya vistasya
sambhavitasya cha
kirti
kirti
मरणादतिरिच्यते.
maranadi
maranadidate
richyate
अकीर्तिं चापि भूतानि कथयिष्यन्ति ते व्ययाम् संभावितस्य चाकीर्तिर्मरणादतिरिच्यते. Translation.
People will always speak of your infamy, and for a respectable person, dishonor is worse than death.
Yeah. So now in the previous verse, Krishna has turned around Arjuna's argument of sinful reactions completely. Okay. So he's saying if you do not fight, you will incur sinful reactions. If you fight, you will get heavenly kingdom. So why are you supposed to not fight? So both the loss of enjoyment and sinful reactions has been answered, collectively. Now, what happens here now? He is saying people, respectable people, they always care about their the respect that they get, and they always care about the reputation. So he is saying for a respectable person, dishonor is worse than death. So what happens now? Let's say there is a highly respectful person in the society. If he performs a minor activity which is not as per the reputation, people will speak more about it. So the analogy given there is, let's say you have a white cloth and you just put one black dot on that white cloth somewhere. What happens? The dot attracts more attention than the 99% white cloth, right? So people have a tendency to speak about the negative. People will point not to the good activities that you have done, but people will always point to that one bad activity that was committed. And that is very much uh, difficult for a respectable person to bear. That's why a respectable person is very much cautious about the reputation. And that's why he is saying that for a respectable person, dishonor, or in this particular context, the example that we gave, any loss of reputation is worse than death. And for you, people will speak about you running away from the battlefield, which will cause infamy. And Krishna is saying that people will constantly talk about your infamy. Now, why is this important? Okay, let's understand this from a perspective of one incident. Okay. After the war was decided and both the armies came on to Kurukshetra, okay, the one night before the war started, Duryodhan sent a messenger to Pandava's camp. Shakuni, Duryodhana's mama, his son Ulluk was selected to become the messenger. So Duryodhan always used to enjoy and get some happiness by insulting the Pandavas, by belittling the Pandavas. So Duryodhan told Ulluk that you give this messenger, and what Ulluk said in front of the Pandavas is, you know, Duryodhan said to, meaning via Ulluk, Duryodhan told Bhim that Bhima, you were reduced to become a cook in the kitchen of Virat kingdom. So, such a powerful person you are, but just because of my strength and my intelligence, I reduced your fame and your power to become a cook somewhere. Okay. He told Arjun, Arjun, I made you become a eunuch in Virat's kingdom. This is my power. Yeah. You will not be able to win against me. People like you, they deserve to be defeated and killed on the battlefield, and that is what I will do tomorrow to you. This is the message that he gave. Okay. So that's why Krishna is saying these kind of words, even before the war started, when they were spoken to you, it was very difficult for you to accept it. When you flee the battlefield, okay, even if you are going away with a good intention of not wanting to kill the Kauravas, because you don't want the dynasty to be destroyed, you don't want the women to be polluted, you do not want to incur sinful reactions, you do not want to go to hell. Even if your intention is right, people will ignore all these factors and people will only point to the fact that you did not fight when you were supposed to, which will cause infamy to you. And that infamy will be spoken around in every circle of the society, and that will be nothing less than dishonor, which is worse than death. That is what Krishna is talking about here. So Krishna uses the word avyayam for describing infamy. He's saying eternally you will be you will become infamous for rejecting to fight the battlefield. It will be spoken forever by people. Okay. So let's understand one small point here. Honor, pride, and arrogance. There are these, right? Dishonor is the word Krishna uses there. Now, automatically a question comes, right? Arjuna is a good devotee of Krishna. Why is he worried about honor and dishonor? He should just do service to Krishna, sort of, right? But it's not so easy, because Arjuna is representing common people like you and me. That's why we have to understand from Arjuna's perspective also. So honor, pride, and arrogance, if you see, these are three different words, may seem to have similar meaning, but they are different. So honor is high respect and esteem, also great esteem. It is used in a positive manner. So when you achieve something, you are honored and it is regarded with great respect. Pride is something which is a feeling of pleasure or satisfaction derived from the achievements. Okay. So compared to honor, pride can be positive, pride can be negative also, depending on how we use. But it is not wrong to feel proud about something. Okay, especially if that pride inspires us to act in a particular good manner. So pride is not always best or worst. Pride can be in between. But arrogance, if you see, arrogance is caused by excessive pride. And when pride kind of becomes too much and goes into some kind of negative territory, then it transforms into arrogance. And that arrogance is not desirable. So if you see a arrogant person, and if you see a proud person, and if you see an honorable person, you will obviously choose the honorable person, but you won't mind choosing a proud person compared to an arrogant person. So why is this important to discuss here? Because Varnashram Dharma, what it does is it uses the power of honor and pride to inspire actions. So what happens is certain activities are honored in the society and certain activities are shamed. Okay, it's not desirable. So Varnashram Dharma, it publicly respects an appropriate action, or it publicly disrespects an inappropriate action. So people would generally hesitate to perform something which is dishonorable, or they would be encouraged to perform something which is honorable. So that's why the honor and pride are being used here by Krishna to encourage Arjun to fight the war. Okay. So that's all about until verse number 34. So the next class we will do from 35 till 38. And with that, we will mark another end of section of Bhagavad Gita. And then you will see the real Bhagavad Gita coming out. So Krishna in verse number 39 says that so far I have told you in a particular manner. Now I will tell you in a different manner, which is actually the crux of Bhagavad Gita that will start coming out. Hare Krishna. Any question?
Looking forward.
Any question?
No.
No?
From my side.
Okay, great. So let's meet up next week then. Hare Krishna.
Sure. Hare Krishna, sir.
Krishna.
Thank you so much.
Hare
Thank you so
Hare
much.
Krishna.
Krishna. Hare Krishna.